Let me teach you how to break free from the chains of oppression that have essentially been your indoctrination from the time you were in school. Why don't you wake up to the person you were always meant to be and stop looking around for excuses? Eisa and I don't have time for that. And frankly, you don't either. The world is literally burning and blowing up. It's literally underwater in some parts of the world. It's now or never. Are you jumping? Like, that's my question. And so I think that we just need to get real with people. This isn't a nice to have. This is you don't have time anymore.
Yeah. You know, and I think that's such a beautiful, like, just a beautiful continuation. See, like, I'm going down the path of like, why can't you do this? And then Hana completes by saying, like, it's not even all your fault. And she's so right. It's not all people's fault. It's just like, at what point is it your fault for staying ignorant?
Yeah. Now is where it is a choice. Maybe it wasn't until now. But today you get to make a choice for the first time in your life. Are you going to continue down the path you've been on, or are you going to emancipate yourself?
Yeah.
This decision today is on you 100%. There are no excuses past this point.
Yeah.
Are you in or are you out? That's it. Today's the turning point. That's what we wanted to let them know.
Yeah. And you know, as the case is with lower vibrational frequencies too, Chris, you know, you're going to always have skeptics because of where they're operating at right now, right? And that's their operating level.
Yeah.
But the realistic thing is that there's so many people that need to hear this, and they need to attach themselves to what this journey is about, so that on their deathbed, they're not talking about regrets. And see, this is something I get on a weekly basis, and I think maybe Hana, your mother being in the nursing field would be able to relate too. On a weekly basis, when Brittany comes home and talks about her day and people that are dying, and what actually matters, I think that's all. Again, this godlike force, universe, whatever you want to call it, is giving me that daily feedback as well. That there is so much more to this than just the wealth that I've created. Like, there is impact that I have to leave behind before that last millionth heartbeat that's going to put me to my bed. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what I think more people need to understand. And understand that the stock market, real estate, Airbnb, it doesn't even fucking matter what it is. Why are you doing this? And how do we make sure you're fulfilled and leave something worthy behind it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally makes sense.
The universe doesn't make a value judgment on the numbers we set. It only responds to what we put out there. So why would we place the limit? Why would we cap it? 10 million is the same to it as 1 million. So why did we put the ceiling on it? Doesn't make any sense.
Does not make sense. Yeah.
That's internal. That's the internal piece, putting that limit on it.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think that when you grow up, especially like as a minority female, like, society doesn't expect much from you. So every time you get used to realizing that your feedback and what you expect of yourself can't be internalization of what society tells you is possible. Like, for me to dream, like, my grandmother was illiterate and grew up in a village in Malaysia, was married at 13, arranged marriage, and was basically a slave to her in-laws, never learned how to read. She decided she wanted more for her daughter, my mom. So she used to pick up fruit on the side of the street, sell it, use the money to buy cloth, make clothes, and became a businesswoman. So she would sell clothes from outside the house. And through that, she put my mother through high school. My mother didn't have a chance to go beyond high school, but there was an anonymous, this is the crazy part, there was an anonymous millionaire who had left Malaysia to make his money in the West and sent money home to sponsor women from the village where he grew up, the one my mom was from, to go and study nursing in England. So my mother was either going to get married or her parents were going to let her take this opportunity sponsored to go to England to study nursing. And so she was lucky. They were progressive enough to put her on that plane, and she goes to England and does half a day in the classroom, half a day in the nursing ward, because it was an apprenticeship program back then. You actually just went straight onto the floor, and that's how you learned. She decides she wants more for her daughter than she had. So makes sure that, you know, I get the best education I have in Canada, and moves to Canada from England. You know, I just run with that and get like 4 degrees, my MBA, my law degree, end up on Wall Street in 2 generations. I'm the 3rd generation. We're talking illiterate. like 70 years ago to fucking Wall Street. You want to tell me about what's possible and what isn't? Like, this story makes no sense unless the impossible is possible.
Yeah.
So I want you sitting in the deepest capital market in the world, in the United States. I want you to believe that in one generation, you can do what it took 3 for women who were illiterate in my generation to do. There's nothing you can't do. End of story.
Mic drop.
Yeah, that's a way to kick off a meeting. Like, I love that.
That's why I'm here. Like, look, I should have been married off the way my grandmother was, like slave to someone. If I'm here, look it, I'm going all the way. Like, I'm not wasting this chance. Are you kidding me? Like, I am the 1%. You are the 1%. We are the 1%. We don't have a choice but to take this advantage of this, because there are a ton of people, millions, who wish they were where we were. So I'm not listening to excuses here, guys. This is $1 million. We're sitting on it. We're gonna go for gold. End of story.
I love it. I'm all for it. This is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to lift everyone. I think that's the cool part. The most successful people who work with me are in their 40s and in their 50s. They're like, fuck me. If I don't do something, I don't want the last 25 years to repeat itself into my 60s. The guys in their 20s, they're still hopeful, naive, you know, like they're like, it might work out. It might be okay. Like, you know, they're not really the pain's not big enough yet, unless maybe they went through something that I went through early on in life and they've lived a rendition of pain and sacrifice, and, you know, they might have enough to drop on that. But, you know, I find older professionals, they're the most scared individuals that need help with this, from my stance. Hannah, you take it away.
So Chris, I don't know what you're writing down, but it sounds like we need to segment here a little bit. So what Eisa's described is a category of people in their 40s and 50s who've tried the 9-to-5. It hasn't brought them the kind of wealth that it promised. They were sold a dream that never came true, and now they're realizing that the real cost is to have to work to the grave, which is basically my dad. I actually have a very different sort of target, which is people who went to the upper echelons, knew that if they stayed, they would make it big, but it ate them alive. So we're talking the 25-year-old investment banker, the 30-year-olds who went into law, they're people who realize that these kids never went, like, they're 21, they decided not to go to university because they saw the illusion falling apart, that higher education and that corporate ladder was not going to get you there. So I deal with a slightly younger cohort who's clued into it, or who's taken a dip into the corporate professional pool where the income is high, but they freaking hate it. It's eating them alive. Like, it's burnout central. Who went from living on his parents' couch once they lost a bunch of money in their family business to earning $300,000 in 2 months. I called him up and I said, how is that black hole in your chest going? He said, what do you mean? I said, that thing that you thought was going to be fixed by money and it hasn't gone away. The thing that you think that if you spend enough on the Rolex and the nice dinner will allow you to sleep at night. How's that going? He's like, I'm not sure what you mean. He calls me 3 days later. He's like, I just dropped like $1,000 on a nice dinner and I feel like complete shit. I think I'm a total fraud and a failure. I was like, welcome to the club. What I'm going to do is help you understand what money gets you, what it doesn't get you, and how to fill the hole, the gap between the two. And because I'm going to teach you how to fill that hole, you'll keep more of the money you make. Because what you do is you think money will fix a problem. It doesn't fix it, so you think you need to spend more. And the really insidious part about the whole thing, the really sick part, is you think you need to consistently spend more to fill the hole, spend more, fill the hole, spend. The problem is that internally what happens in your subconscious is that when you spend $100 to fill a hole, it's $100 hole. When you spend 1,000, that hole is now $1,000 hole. You spend 10, that hole just got bigger. And that's how they keep you in the rat race of being miserable, going to work on Wall Street every day, but you still do it because you're in a cycle of, I have to spend in order to be happy. And each time you spend, it has to get bigger and better and shinier and more expensive. And you feel like more and more and more like shit. So what I'm teaching people to do at any level is, you've clued into the fact that money isn't the answer. Now I'm going to show you how to get it. Mm-hmm. And that's what's actually going to bring you satisfaction with your money, because you're not relying on it anymore to fix the hole. You can use it as a tool to get the lifestyle you want, but it's not your happiness.
Right.
And that right there is the key to long-term success and not blowing up your entire business, your life. It's the key to undoing self-sabotage. And this self-sabotage is why multimillionaires and billionaires off themselves at some point. or make some huge fuck up and like end up in like sex scandals, drug rings, like, you know, suicide attempts. Like there was a reason they got to the top, opened every door, and were still empty at the end. They have no reason left to live. What I do is I cut it in the bud. So my avatar is like, it doesn't really, it's not age based, it's realization based, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So now imagine this utopia now that you're gonna learn that the shit that's, you know, the shit that prevents you from actually being fulfilled with money, we fix that. And now you got this beast who knows how to make money.
You make money, keep it, and learn how to spend responsibly.
Holy fuck. Like that's where this thing is that we're trying to bring to the market.
It's your life insurance plan for your total multi-generational wealth.
Yeah.
No point building it if you don't know how to keep it, or if you're using it to fill the wrong things. Now, the other thing I want to bring to this is that I've been at the deal tables where big decisions get made, and I've seen people panic, and I've seen people try and massage their egos by making a purchase that was like way outside the scope of what the company should be doing. I've seen those egos get in the way. I've seen that hole, that darkness come to play at game time when you have to have a sober, distant, sort of cold, calculated rationale for why you're doing things. And I've seen people tank companies on account of it. Obviously, I can't reveal confidential information, but like I've been in the room. And I'm just saying that like, just because you're rich, it doesn't mean you're immune to this. Just because you're poor middle class doesn't mean you won't run into this at some point. It's for everyone. It's not just for the ultra rich, but the rich have more to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can tell you this, there is a lot of, and since we're talking Avatar, Carson and Chris, there is a lot of people who became rich not knowing what the fuck they just did to become rich. And that's the piece that, you know, is going to be supported by understanding the market. Like, it's like, if you're rich, you need to know how this fucking thing works. You need to understand the pitfalls, because you can't just be someone who YOLO'd on fucking GME and now you're like, now you got the fucking tendies that you see all these YouTube fuckers talk about. So it's like, there is a massive crossover here.
What Eisa's also talking about is what I've seen a lot with coaches as well through various masterminds, which is that they'll hit it big, and then they'll like start getting lazy, start getting complacent. You know, they're a bit lax about, you know, outreach, organic, like following up on leads, and then they'll go back to empty. Then they start to get panicked. My bank account's running low. I'm gonna up it again. They'll reach a new like $30,000, $50,000 peak per month, and then they'll drop down again. Like this is called a burn cycle, where scarcity and fear causes you to go into high gear in order to get here. Your brain, that fear response switches off because you're like, oh, we're safe now. And then you end up in complacency. You want to spin around in circles, like circling a drain until you die, fine, go ahead. But when you average that out, that's basically a shitty salary. 30K month and zero, 30K zero, average that out. It's not a whole lot of money. And in fact, it causes a lot of up and down roller coaster stress. You want consistent gains, like in a stock market. Even if it goes like this, you want to see that climb. That same mentality that causes people to like YOLO in the stock market and then like don't know what to do next is the same thing that professionals who hit it big and then go back to zero are suffering from, which is that they're fear motivated, first of all, which is so temporary. Second of all, they have no strategy in place. Third of all, their identity hasn't caught up to their income, so they don't know how to sustain it. So I'm going to break down the psychology of making money and losing it and teach you how to create a sustainable pathway to long-term wealth building and happiness and fulfillment. And that, you know, it's not Tony Robbins garbage, like let's jump up and down, clap our hands, leave a conference and then feel like shit the next day. Like this is real stuff. I didn't walk through the trenches and on hot coals over 11 years of school, 4 degrees, climbing to Wall Street just to come back and sell you bullshit. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to waste my time on that. I have a lot of skills I could be doing. So if I'm here delivering this to you guys, it's because I really think there's value in it. And that's where the credibility, I think, comes from. I'm not the 20-year-old who did executive coaching, hung a shingle out and was like, I can change your life. Like, no, I could be making money elsewhere, but I'm here because impact matters. So sit down, pay attention, and let me save you from yourself. That's my plug.
Yeah. And from a perspective of like, you have seen this behind those, as we always say, the golden doors that nobody ever knows about.
Yeah. You don't get behind those doors easily. You really don't. Nobody gets into the room.
So, mind blown yet, guys?
Another, just to like make it even more chaotic, since we're kind of just throwing it all out there, this is about respect and your relationship with money. This is about learning how to treat it. This is about understanding that it's energy that works for you, and you can't fuel it and feed it with fear. You want to try and have a relationship last where you make them afraid to step out of line? Good luck. You think that's going to be a healthy relationship long-term? No, you got to nurture it. You got to respect it. You got to learn when to let it go and when to draw it in. And if you don't understand that balance, and you don't take time to understand how you are interacting with the markets, with the universe, to build that relationship with money, you're essentially taking it for granted. Why do you think divorce rates are 50%? People have lost the art of developing healthy relationships with other energetic forces, whether it's people, whether it's markets, whether it's money, whether it's love, like you name it. We need to re-educate ourselves about building healthy long-term relationships with these energetic forces. It won't just fix your money issues. Your relationships will change. Your business interactions will change because you've got yourself right. For the first time, you're learning how to respect the forces at play. This is how transformation happens.
And so I can speak from experience. And just if I can chime in on that, like, guys, I can speak from experience with that. I mean, I spent not near enough time getting into these conversations with Hana and her experience, but you know, even myself, like I come from that background of having really nothing, so scarcity, and like, you know, punched through some massive barriers financially, but there was still like, I would say even like 6 months ago, there was still this kind of feeling of like, okay, there's something here that's not aligned with where I'm at. And that missing piece had to be truly discovered in the development of self, and just even how you look at things. And like I said, it's always that shift in perspective. You just learn to see something just slightly differently, and then all of a sudden you start seeing this force work for you.
Well, and here's the difference.
Explain.
Here's what's so fascinating. When you're at the upper echelons, okay, that 1% is the difference maker. Everyone who's going to be in this room is already at the top of some level. They've already sort of succeeded on some level if they're going to drop this kind of money, right? Mm-hmm. There's already some level of awareness that they've come to. You want a competitive edge, it's always in the 1% difference. It's the Olympic athlete who got their 0.0001 seconds over the other person. This is where the edge comes from. It's not a massive thing that creates transformation. It's that one thing that suddenly clicks into place. And if you've invested time and money and you've been searching for it, here's where that search ends. Mm-hmm. This is where it falls into place.
Yeah.
Like you look back at biblical texts, for Christ's sakes, and they talk about the importance of, you know, leaning into trust and surrendering and all of that. Like, this is an enduring part of the human condition, that we are co-creating our existence at every point in time. It's just that because of the capitalist, materialist world we live in, people only tune into that message in the context of money. But the underlying message is a universal truth that I think sits with all of us. And that when we hear it, it starts to resonate as something that's real.
So let me just ask a question to the collect. I mean, I know where Hana and I stand on this, but I mean, let's start with you, Chris. Like, do you see what's here?
Yes, 100%.
You say no, get off the call.
No, and I don't want. This is like truly authentic moment, Chris. Like, you see it truly, like in your heart. You see this.
Of course. Like, if you want me to expand, like every time you and Hana are speaking, it's like, not only do I see like a bit of myself in the avatars you're speaking to, but also like the clients that I work with and like the dips and valleys that they go through. So it's like, holy shit, like this is like, I'm witnessing the kind of the pain points in real life, in real time that you guys are talking about. And you guys have like you guys are like the first responders to actually like solve them and like set them up for long term. So I totally see it.
I have literally done competitions, like world debate competitions, with zero preparation. Because I think that this one gift I have is that I'm a conduit for something bigger than myself. If you ask me after this call what I said, I can't recall it.
Right.
I couldn't replicate it if I tried. But I do think that I was meant to be communicating a message. Like that is my superpower, that there is a gravity that comes when I open my mouth, and there is a message that's bigger than me that's being communicated. And that's why I believe in this, because I don't think it's me doing it at all. And what I think I want to tap into with people is to let them know that there is a power within them to awaken for the first time in their lives. I'm not just talking about making money, but really awaken to why you are here in the first place. Because if you can't answer that question, you will never live a life of any meaning, any fulfillment, any purpose, any conviction. And if you don't have that, why are you here? Isn't it worth it for you to take a chance that this might be the door you open that changes your life? Isn't it worth it? Aren't you just a little curious? Aren't you a little fucking sick and tired, pardon my French, of living life day to day on autopilot? Because if you are, then don't hesitate, kind of thing. The people who are really going to benefit from this program, I think, are people who have done some personal development work. So it's okay to use some of that language. It's okay to use some of the, like the universe language if you want. It's okay to use some of the awareness, being awake. Like that's language that our avatar is going to understand. You also have people who aren't really willing to settle for mediocrity. Like they want more for themselves. They want more for their families. Like they're not comfortable where they are, and they're seeing that. So we've got to lean into that discomfort. Like, is this really how you want to keep living the rest of your life? Like people who are
that.
Yeah. So we've got to lean into there's more than what meets the eye. And I want to teach you how to interact with it in a way that works for you. And also the way you're living is not sustainable. You know that you're made for more. You know that this is not the life you were meant for.
Like I was supposed to be some kid that's still fucking in the streets of Tehran, Iran.
Right? And I should have been married off and serving my husband and 6 children food somewhere in India.
Right. And this can't, and what I don't think this needs to become is, oh, look at how great all these immigrants are doing. No, it's about, if they could do it, what on fucking earth is like going on with you that you can't?
So true.
I think that's the message.
So true.
Right. I'm like, it's like, and let me just tangent on that for a sec. I'm sorry your dad was a fucking addict, right? But that's not the fucking route of a goddamn refugee that was supposed to be wiping ass in Tehran right now.
Yeah.
Still, you're in Canada, you're in North America, you're in fucking Europe. You
got the internet, man. Like
you got the fucking internet. They don't even fucking have the internet in Iran. To access Instagram, they got to go through a VPN.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? And they're still crushing it. Like, what the fuck? They're still crushing it there. How come Europe? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you here?
Yeah.
This is what we're trying to get across.
And the other side to it is that, look, you've been conditioned to believe it's impossible. I don't necessarily blame you. There were reasons that you were conditioned to believe it wasn't possible. It's not convenient for people who have money for you to take more of the pie. But we don't care about that. Yeah. Eisa and I recognize there's something bigger at play here than just holding on to the capital that we have, that there is a liberation coming, and we want you on the forefront of it. Because the world that you know is not the world we're going to be living in for the next 15, 20 years. How many of you have been even watching the climate change stuff? We're undergoing a radical shift in the way we think, the way we operate. If you can't pivot now, you are about to get knocked off your feet.
Yeah.
Let me teach you how to be agile. Let me teach you how to break free from the chains of oppression that have essentially been your indoctrination from the time you were in school. Why don't you wake up to the person you were always meant to be and stop looking around for excuses? Eisa and I don't have time for that. And frankly, you don't either. The world is literally burning and blowing up. It's literally underwater in some parts of the world. It's now or never. Are you jumping? Like, that's my question. And so I think that we just need to get real with people. Yeah. This isn't a nice to have. This is you don't have time anymore.
Yeah. You know, and I think that's such a beautiful, like, just a beautiful continuation. See, like, I'm going down the path of why can't you do this? And then Hana completes it by saying, like, it's not even all your fault. And she's so right. It's not all people's fault. That's just like, at what point is it your fault for staying ignorant?
Yeah. Now is where it is a choice. Maybe it wasn't until now, but today you get to make a choice for the first time in your life. Are you going to continue down the path you've been on, or are you going to emancipate yourself?
Yeah.
This decision today is on you 100%. There are no excuses past this point.
Yeah.
Are you in or are you out? That's it. Today's the turning point. That's what we wanted to let them know.
Yeah. And as the case is with lower vibrational frequencies too, Chris, you're going to always have skeptics because of where they're operating at right now, right? And that's their operating level.
Yeah.
But the realistic thing is that there's so many people that need to hear this, and they need to attach themselves to what this journey is about, so that on their deathbed, they're not talking about regrets. And see, this is something I get on a weekly basis, and I think maybe Hana, your mother being in the nursing field would be able to relate too. On a weekly basis, when Brittany comes home and talks about her day and people that are dying,
and
what actually matters, I think that's all. Again, this godlike force, universe, whatever you want to call it, is giving me that daily feedback as well. That there is so much more to this than just the wealth that I've created. Like, there is impact that I have to leave behind before that last millionth heartbeat that's going to put me to my bed. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what I think more people need to understand. And understand that the stock market, real estate, Airbnb, it doesn't even fucking matter what it is. Why are you doing this? And how do we make sure you're fulfilled and leave something worthy behind? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally makes sense.
But what's not an option is not getting this message out. And like, money aside, I really, really think that, as Eisa said, we're being called to action by something bigger. So
yeah.
Chris, thanks for being a listening ear. You've got these two hyper, like, I need to get this out, talking to you, and you're just such a great listener, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. Like, thanks for the free coaching session. Like, this is freaking gold. Like, you guys, like, I think Eisa, you were saying, like, man, I don't want to pump my tires. Like, I'll pump them for you, man. Like, I want to fucking enroll in both your programs. Like, and it's making me think, like, man, I've got money that I'm sitting on. I was like, well, what the fuck am I doing? Like, literally,
this joint program, no kidding, is actually probably worth it. Don't go with one, don't go with the other. Like, get both.
Yeah.
So if you're getting Eisa now for that amount, it's a big deal. I mean, I think people who see the matrix, who see the field and the vision, like, I'm not trying to sell you. I think you know what's out there, but I just
already sold me.
We've already got one.
Yeah, you've already got one.
It's on the record. He's jumping in. And the thing is that we're going to deliver so much value on this first iteration. I think that's what people need to know. When it's the first time and we need to make it work, we're going to be there in such a hands-on way that, like, by the third or fourth iteration, you're not going to get the same time with us. Like, I'm going to go the extra mile for everyone who enrolls, and I will make that very clear.
Yeah.
I love it.
Next level, guys. I almost feel like there was a rocket emoji I could drop right now onto this.
Love it.
That's what's happening. Yeah.
Love it. Listen, like, I always wondered, what was I thinking doing 11 years of education in 4 different countries while working at the UN, at a think tank in DC, New York, London, Dubai? Like, what is it all going to amount to? Like, has this just been like the weirdest round trip world ticket through educational institutions and, like, the halls of power? Like, this can't just sit with me and die with me. Like, this only lives through other people. It only lives in the message that endures. And so this, to me, is like it's personal. It's not just a job. Like, this is a mission.
And it's spiritual.
So, it really feels that way.
Yeah. And as I even listen to you, Hana, and I just even speaking with you and learning from you, I've come to understand the same thing about what I do. It's just that what I'm seeing is with the component that I had actually addressed with this, it needs the avatar piece. You just cannot. You've seen it on billion-dollar deals, how companies get sunk if you don't have the avatar piece figured out.
Yeah. Synced or whatever, and then having, like, some articles published of you in Yahoo Finance or Forbes or wherever, like, that won't hurt either too.
Yeah, I've already published in Forbes, so I mean.
Yeah. Okay. So you've already got the credibility. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, once you've been to Wall Street, I mean, shit, that is credibility. But yeah, no, I did the Forbes thing earlier this year on the future of the virtual workforce, and then like, my brand is like gold and blue, but that's like very corporate. And I think what we're trying to do is break that down a little bit. and try and be like, we're here for everybody, as long as you've got the spiritual meets money side. You know, honestly, the only thing I can come up with that has this hybrid is Wendy Rhodes from Billions.
You sent me your video last week, I think.
Yeah, I think if you just like watch the first season 1, episode 1, like if you can get hold of that. Issa, have you seen it?
No, send that to me. Text it to me. I would like to see that.
I think it's just on HBO and you or Crave or something. But like if you can find just season 1, episode 1, watch that. The Wendy Rhodes character brings together like the psychology, the spiritual, plus the money side. And I think whatever she's embodying there is like kind of where we're going with this.
Okay, let me look into that.
One of the things that like I think really sells us is that we're kind of open, we're very raw. It's like, it's a very like, I don't want to say an open wound, but like we bare our souls in a way. There's something like very untouched about the messaging, like that we ourselves are exploring and discovering in real time. And that's what makes it beautiful. It's not like I have the answer and now let me be the prophet who shares it with you. It's like, isn't this what it should be? Like, are you feeling that too? Yeah, I think this is how I struggle. And you're right, you hit on something. Like, it's beautiful because it's almost like the dialogue that's going on inside our avatar's head, but out loud. It's almost nice that we have enough to lead people, but we're not so far ahead that we kind of come across as disengaged or like we don't represent who they are.
Yeah. Well, it is a hybrid, Hannah. It's like you've got that, you know, Wall Street slick multi-billion-dollar experience that people are just like, it's way over their heads. And then, like I said before, I'm that regular guy who made it. So
Chris, like, why do you resonate with this? Because are you the regular guy who made it? Or are you super slick? Are you somewhere in the middle? Like, what makes you feel like this is for you? Just because you're kind of like, if you're thinking of joining, which you should, and if I have anything to say about it, but what is it that appeals to you? Because this is like real-time market research right here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So yeah, like I love the fact that Eisa, you know, like came from just kind of a regular Joe background, like didn't have a silver spoon in his mouth, right? And then figured things out on his own. And also like Eisa, what like your vibe as well, it's like I don't know how to put this into words, but like you like you've got a no bullshit tolerance. Like you've got like a healthy skepticism, like draws me to like it makes me feel like whatever I do that Eisa tells me to do, I'm protected because he's done his due diligence to make sure that like you're safe. So you've got that like protective, like skeptical and good story of just like average guy who like literally just like, how the hell do I figure this shit out? And so like that's a story I vibe to. And then like and I like what like every time you open your mouth, I'm like, what? Like my brain is just exploding like in a million different directions. But you basically like make me feel like I can do anything. And like you challenge me. And even though I might never have heard the advice, the words that you say specifically before, I think both of you said this on the interviews, like, you know, when you hear something, it's true, like you kind of like lean into it and you can't like get away from it. So like, you have a lot of truth, you speak with a lot of soul. And then you guys both equally do this in your own ways, like just challenge me to think about money so much more differently, to totally eliminate any scarcity I have and totally just not settle one bit for the life that I have. And like, regardless of that, if like the mechanism is trading stocks or just like listening to you and like having a mindset expanded, like the vibe that you guys both bring, it like, I don't know, it makes me want more. So
yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, it does. I'm also going to use it as testimonial later. So
do it, please.
Chris, you know what? I think you said it so beautifully. I mean, so much of my message is understand the markets, because if you got something that runs 1,600% in 3 days, why aren't you a part of that? That's my whole messaging. But that is not the only dominion of wealth. For example, a whole other part to this wealth piece is, now you got all this money, are you going to just pay it down in taxes? Or are you going to understand why the government set up the tax structure the way it's set up so you don't pay it and keep impacting the money that you keep more in the world? See, there's this thing going on right now, anti this, anti that clash, people versus their authority, right? There's all that shit going on right now. And if you get to the deep root of what actually is the priority, It's all a load of crap. But the only people who know that are the people who have the money. And the people who don't have the money don't have the messaging to understand and bridge that gap. And that's what I'm trying to get through to you. It's not just about making money in the stock market. It's about how do you actually generate wealth and then keep it. And then that's where Hana comes in with the avatar. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I think we hit on something great. But instead of just patting ourselves on the back, I'm looking forward to the execution side of it. It's such a cool learning curve. Everything about this is exciting. I want to learn as much as I can. Chris, I want to support you on your journey, whatever that looks like, even if it's just, going through this process with you. If you have questions about your own business, I see this as sort of like a family. I want us all to succeed in all of this because I know that it comes back around full circle. So, we'll lean on you, you lean on us. We'll go the extra mile for each other, and we'll rise the tide so we all float.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Guys, this has been a freaking awesome conversation. Like so many gold gems packed in here.
Love it.
Appreciate you guys so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Later.
You guys take care.